Hi there, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today's yoga class is all about having some fun while loosening up the body. I want you to focus on what your body does want to do today and let go of what it doesn't want to do. Look for joy in your movement. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify if you need to, and feel comfortable to ease your way into child pose at any time should you need a little time out. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to start off today's class standing towards the bottom end of the mat. Find a comfortable samasthiti with your feet maybe just a little bit wider than hip width distance apart. Place your hands on your hips and start tracing a big circle through the pelvis, just gently warming up through the hips. Almost as if you had a hula, you were playing with the hula. Just give me nice big circles. Trace a couple of patterns in one direction and then just split and trace the pattern in the opposite direction. Keep your tailbone slightly tucked under and your belly button pulled in. Then come to stillness along the center line. Stack your forearms. Let's do right on top of left, holding onto the forearms. And with your elbow points, start tracing a big clockwise circle on the wall in front of you. Big circular trace. Then come to stillness for me with your elbows parallel to your shoulders. Start gently folding forward, coming into a tabletop position, and try to frame your head between the arms so that your arms are alongside your ears. And maybe gently rock the weight back and forth between the balls and the heels of your feet. Coming to stillness with the weight bearing equal on the front and the back portion of your foot. Then softly begin bending and extending through the knees as you start dropping your elbow points down towards the floor so that your chest is almost on the top of your thighs. Ending with the knees softly bent, start gently ragdoll swaying your weight side to side. Keep your belly button softly pulled into center. Then let go of the forearms and walk your way into a 4-point kneeling frame with your knees hovering off the floor. Toes are tucked under. Squeeze the knees in towards the center line and float back to your start position. So you're almost working in a little butterfly fluttering motion, bringing the knees towards each other and back to start. Keep a nice long line through the spine and your belly button softly pulled in to center. We're going to ease our way from here into a down dog frame. Start piking your bum up to the ceiling and then start playing with your foot position. Come up nice and high on the toes and then drop down as far as you can on the heels. Keeping that nice pike position, head is dropping down towards the floor. And then end as high on the toes as you can and hold that tiptoe position. Either staying here or coming into a 3-legged dog on the right with a soft toe. Just gently kick up that right leg behind you. Either stay here or arch your dog, but keep the tiptoe position. So arch the dog, bend your floating back leg, open up the knee to the side, drop the foot to the left, and peek over the left shoulder as if you were looking for that foot, almost as if it was a little scorpion tail hanging behind you. We're going to use this arching dog to set up a low lunge. Think of retracing back, think knee to hip and step forward. If the leg gets stuck on the mat, just gently corral it, walk it forward, make sure you've got knee over ankle. Drop the back knee, keep the toes tucked under if you can, and come up with your hands in prayer as you find a low lunge line. If you need to, heel toe your front foot out until you've got knee over ankle. Push both hands into each other so that you can feel your arms, chest, upper back, and shoulders are all connected. And then take a big breath in as you float your prayer hands overhead, trying to reach for the ceiling, really stretch through the ribs, but try not to bunch up your shoulders. So keep the shoulders soft even while reaching for the ceiling. Come back to your original position in prayer. Look for that stillness, that control, and then cross over opposite hand to knee. So let's take the left elbow, place it on the outside of the right knee, still keeping your hands in prayer, but now your fingertips are looking to the wall in front of you. Stay here on the back knee or come into a high lunge, but don't lean all of your weight forward if you are bringing that back knee up off the floor. Push your weight back into the heel and try to hold here, looking for stillness and control as you twist gently through the torso. Give me a few breaths here. Look for that control through the inner thighs, weight bearing equal on both of your legs. Reconnect your back knee to the floor and come back into your original prayer position. Float your hands behind you, seeing if you can interlace and make a little fist. We're coming into a hamstring stretch and we're going to try to keep the hands interlaced. If your balance is not there, just drop your fingertips to the mat and use them for support. Take a big breath in, and on an exhale, start leaning your weight back. You can bump right behind the hip today and see if you can extend that front foot. At first, look towards the toes and try to keep all 5 toes on the floor with the foot as extended as you can. Then maybe peel the toes up off the floor. See if you can get even more extension, almost trying to tuck your chin over your toes. Keep your belly button softly pulled in to center. We're going to use this frame to set up a lizard line. Unbind the hands from behind you and place them on the inside of your right leg. Walk the right leg slightly out, so maybe 1 step out, and give me a soft 45-degree angle on the foot. Place your hands gently on the mat, and then maybe just lean your weight forward. Take the right hand and push the right knee away. Either keeping that front foot firmly planted on the mat, or you can try knife edging the foot as you gently push the right knee away. You can keep your back toe under, or you can relax the foot behind you if you prefer. Either staying here or trying to come into a little bind opposite hand to foot. Look over your back shoulder and start lifting the back foot up off the floor, but don't tense the back leg. Reach back, reach for the foot. To bring the foot in, I want you to relax your quad, your hamstring and your glute, and then gently come back into your lizard lunge, gently pulling that foot in closer towards your bum. Looking over that back shoulder. Then relax that back foot to the floor. See if you can make your way down onto the elbows. If the elbows are not a possibility for you, maybe reach for a block or a book. You can play with the dimensions and just see if you can find a comfortable forearm position on your prop. If you feel comfortable down on the elbows, you can maybe tuck that back toe under, bring the knee up off the floor, push the weight into the back heel, or gently sway back and forth if you're really tight through the groin and you need to give yourself a chance to warm up. Hold when you're ready. If you do have that back knee up off the floor, push the weight back into the back heel. Make sure you're opening up beautifully through the groin and hold your lizard line. Sukhasana. We're going to use this lizard line to set up a pigeon on the floor. Relax the back knee and ease your way down onto the palms. Once you've got your position on the mat, think of bringing that back knee back up off the floor and focus on your front leg. Tuck the front leg in, keep the knee in line with your hip or slightly wider. Either have the foot in a straight line or tuck in closer to the perineum. Relax that front leg, relax the back knee, relax the back foot. Slide, walk, or creep the leg away from you, and then wiggle the weight around until you've balanced out the hips and the shoulders. Pretend that you've got a little strip of mercury between the 2 shoulders and between the 2 hip bones, and you're trying to keep it as even as you can. If you find that you're leaning aggressively towards the right bum cheek, perhaps take your block or your book, use the knife edge portion and tuck it just where your bum crease is on the right to support your frame. I want you to try and keep yourself as level as you can with the weight bearing equal on both sides of your spine. We're going to play with a little twist today, and we're going to try both sides. Take a big breath in and creep your right hand over to where your left hand is. Look over that back shoulder for the foot that's straight behind you. Bend the knee, floating the foot up, and see if you can reach for it. If this feels good, maybe tuck the foot in as tight as you can. Maybe relaxing that back quad, glute, and hamstring and seeing if you can bring the heel in as close as you can. If this feels good, maybe you can coax the right hand off the mat, drawing up along the inner thighs and pulling up from the pelvic floor. You can reach opposite hand to foot, and then you can just float the left hand behind you to maybe cup to the inside of your right inner thigh. Play where you're comfortable. You don't have to come into the foot bind. Remember, do what you can. Let go of what doesn't work for you today. And once you've held this twist for a few breaths in this direction, you might want to try the twist in the opposite direction. Let go of that back foot. Come back into your original pigeon line. You're going to creep your left hand over to your right hand, peep over for that back foot. You're going to grab right hand to left foot and just gently pull it in towards the center line. Using your left fingertips on the mat just to support your frame. Or if you like, you can hold onto the opposite hip and just use your inner thighs to hold that frame. Holding here for a few breaths, whether you're bound to the hip or whether you've got the fingertips connected to the mat. And then gently unbind, drop that leg on the floor behind you. We're going to come into a wide-legged down dog from here. So as you tuck that back foot under, take the foot as wide as you can so that you're almost on the edge of your mat. Find your down dog, stepping the right foot also nice and wide so that both feet are just on the outer edge of your mat. Use your down dog to just get a nice little bit of stretch into the front and the back chain of the body. Try to drop the heels as heavy as you can towards the mat. Then coming onto the tips of your fingers, gently walk the weight back. Keep those feet on the outer edges of your mat as you bring it into a narrow standing straddle, Prasarita Padottanasana, and see if you can bind to the ankles, bending in the elbows and dropping the crown of your head nice and heavy to the floor. Hang here for a bit, allowing for that inversion and that pooling of blood in the head. Great to give yourself a little mini facelift. And then placing your fingertips gently on the floor, heel toe in until your feet are stacking underneath your hips. Soften through the knees, bend the elbows, finding your forearm stack, this time left on top of right, and just hang here for a bit. Maybe starting to straighten up gently through the back chain of the legs, swaying the weight if you need to, or bending and extending through the legs if you're still very tight. Find the Uttanasana, the forward fold that works for you. Keep your elbow points nice and heavy to the floor. And then bending softly through the knees, ragdoll style, peel back up, making sure to bring your head up last as you come up. Come up into a comfortable standing frame, modified mountain, and place your hands on your hips. You're going to trace an anti-clockwise circle through the hips, nice and big. So that you don't rush through the movement, maybe inhale for half of your circle and then exhale for the other half. Trace a few patterns in one direction and then change it up and move in the opposite direction. Getting into those tight points, loosen up your body. All right, let's stack left hand over right, holding onto the forearms, and with your elbow points, trace a big anti-clockwise circle on the wall in front of you. Stand up nice and tall. Make sure your feet are stacking in parallel. Tuck your tailbone slightly under and pull your belly button gently into center. Then come to stillness. Elbows more or less in line with your shoulders and begin hinging forward As you inch forward to come into the tabletop position, try to frame your head between the two arms and gently hold that long line through the neck and the spine as you rock the body weight back and forth between the balls and the heels of your feet. Then softly begin bending and extending through the knees as you make the elbow points heavy to the floor and make the crown heavy to the floor. Almost think Chandra Uttanasana, a nice really soft forward fold with bendy knees. Work it dynamically today. And then end with a soft knee, almost chest to knee, and gently ragdoll side to side, keeping your elbow points and your crown nice and heavy to the floor. Belly button is firmly pulled in to center. Unbind the hands and start creeping your way into 4-point kneeling, coming into a hovering knee position just off the mat. Squeeze the knees into the center line and float back to your start position. Keep strong through the shoulders, so keep pushing the mat away with your hands. Keep a long line through the spine and keep your belly button softly pulled in to center. Find your way from here into a tiptoe down dog position, and you can play with the movement dynamically, coming up nice and high on your toes and then dropping the heels as heavy as you can to the floor, trying to open up and loosen those tight kinks behind the knees. Bend as high as you can in that tiptoe position, hold it, and then maybe find a 3-legged dog on the left. Softly kick up the left leg behind you, trying to keep the tiptoe position on the right. If this feels good, arch your dog. Bend that floating back leg, open up the knee to the side, drop the foot to the right, and then peek over the right shoulder, drawing up along the inner thighs and pulling up strongly from the pelvic floor towards your waistline. Pause here, almost looking like a little scorpion going into war. And you're going to use this arching dog to set up your low lunge line. So think knee up plank. And if that foot gets stuck, just grab it, bring it forward, relax the back knee, keep the toe tucked under as you peel up into a low crescent lunge, Asana. Bring your hands to prayer in front of your heart. Push actively into the palms. Make sure your arms, chest, upper back, and shoulders are engaged. Take a big breath in and float your prayer hands overhead, reaching nice and tall. Arms are framing either side of your ears. Take a few breaths here, opening up through the trunk. And then bring the hands back down to your start position in prayer, just in front of your heart. We're going to rotate softly to the left, tucking your right elbow to the outside of the left knee. And if you can, maybe bring that back knee up off the floor. Watch that you're not leaning all of your weight forward. So push back into that back heel. Look for that stability. Use your inner thighs. Use your core. Hold. You're going to give me a few breaths here, and then we'll find our way into our modified hamstring stretch, Ardha Hanumanasana. Relax the back knee to the floor. Come back to your original prayer line, and then float the hands behind you, making a little fist. Bump the weight back. Start extending the front leg, and at first keep the whole foot connected to the floor as you gently just make the chest heavy to your thigh. Then peel the toes up off the floor, maybe bumping more weight back into the bum. And almost think of trying to hook your chin over your toes. Keep your belly button softly pulled into center, and keep thinking of gently trying to squeeze the two inner thighs together. Give me a few more breaths here, and then we'll set up a lizard line. Uninterlace your hands and place them on the inside of the left leg. Maybe walk the foot out a foot space and allow the foot to softly splay out at 45. Walk your weight forward and just give me a gentle lean here, or maybe use your left hand to push the left knee away, either keeping the whole foot grounded into the mat or maybe knife edging that foot for more of a stretch. Either stay here, gently pushing that knee away, or think of coming into a soft bind. Float the back foot off the mat. Soften the whole back leg as you reach back, opposite hand to foot. If you find that your hamstring starts cramping, just give the leg a little rub. Remember, you need to relax that back leg. Think soft quad, soft hamstring, soft glute, and just gently draw the foot in towards your bum line. Unbind from that back foot and see if you can ease your way down onto the forearms, using a block if you need to underneath the arms. If this feels good, maybe tuck the back toe under, bring the knee up off the floor. If you need to, rock the weight back and forth until you've found your optimum lizard stretch, either front foot flat on the mat or knife edging the foot. Dealer's choice. Remember, play with it, have some fun as you loosen up. Hang here for a few breaths, and then we'll use this lizard line to set up a pigeon. So relax that back knee, ease your way back onto the palms. Once you feel stable on the mat, see if you can bring that back knee back off the floor. Focus on your front leg. Bring the leg in, knee in line with your hip or slightly wider, and find the angle on the lead leg that works for you. Relax it to the mat. Release the back knee, release the back foot. Slide, walk, or creep your back leg away, and then wiggle around until you feel even on both shoulders, even on both hips. If you need to, take a block, wedge it underneath your bum crease on the left. We're holding a high pigeon line today. Let's try that little bind to both sides. Take your left hand, creep it over, placing it where the right fingertips are, and look over the back shoulder for that leg that's draped softly on the mat behind you. Lift the foot off the mat and see if you can reach back, same hand to foot, and just gently draw the leg in. If you find that the leg is coming in nicely, remember to relax that whole quad, glute, and hamstring. You can maybe use the inner thighs to support the frame. Bring the left hand off the mat, and now reach opposite hand to foot. Seeing if you can bind. Take the right arm behind you, drape it behind your back, and maybe reach with your fingertips for the inner thigh of your base support leg. Play where you're comfortable, modifying your movements if you need to, and playing where your body is comfortable. Pausing here for a few breaths before gently unbinding, coming back to your original high pigeon line and trying the bind to the other side. Creep your right hand over, either stopping along the midline, or you could come over a little bit further if you prefer. You're going to float that back foot off. This time, opposite hand to foot. Remember to soften that leg as you just softly bring it in. Allow the elbow to maybe softly track up to the ceiling. Hold here for a few breaths. When you come out of your pigeon frame, you're going to make your way into a wide-legged down dog. So remember to step the feet as wide as you can to the outer quadrant of your mat. Pike your bum up to the ceiling. Find your frame. And just take a little extended stretch here. Piking your bum up as high as you can, trying to make the heels as heavy as you can to the floor. Not leaning all the weight into your wrist. So almost hollowing out underneath your palms, drawing the energy up along the fingertips into the arms and the shoulders and the upper back. Keeping that wide stance on the mat, start walking your hands back towards your feet and see if you can hold a soft forward fold while binding around your ankles, holding that wide-legged position on the mat. Make your crown nice and heavy to the floor. Keep pulling your belly button gently into center. And then placing your fingertips gently on the floor, we're going to change it up this time. Allow the feet to softly splay out and maybe come into a deep squat, either dropping your bum all the way down, hands in press, using your elbows, or maybe a midline squat is more your speed and you're just going to hang here with your hands, maybe softly bracing on the top of your thighs. Play where you're comfortable. We're going to ease our way from here into a seated frame on the mat, and I'm going to keep our current orientation on the mat. But you maybe want to shoot for a midway point on your mat. So maybe just placing your hands gently on the mat in front of you, maybe just taking a little hop up, crossing the feet behind you, sitting back comfortably on the mat into Sukhasana. Let's all lead with the right leg in front of the left as we come into position, sitting up nice and tall. Take a big breath in and then just place your fingertips or your palms on the mat and creep your hands forward, trying to come to rest on your forearms and making your forehead nice and heavy to the mat. Just hang here for a bit. If you're really tight and your forearms are nowhere near the mat, you could maybe play with your block again, playing with the dimensions, and find a comfortable leaning position that does work for you. Hang here for a bit, not forcing the stretch, just trying to relax every time you exhale, making the forearms nice and heavy into the mat and keeping your belly button gently pulled in to center. Maybe releasing any tension in the head by gently floating your chin side to side as if you were aiming for your shoulder with your chin as you gently rock. Come to stillness along the midline. Take a big breath in and float up into a nice high seat, stacking your shoulders over your hips. Take a big breath in to prepare. And on an exhale, softly twist to the right. Take the back of your left hand to the outside of your right knee. Push with the back of your hand. Get a little bit of resistance going, and then use the other hand gently behind you on the mat to prop up your frame nice and high. Hold the twist for a few counts. Then ease your way gently back to center, either staying in easy sit or taking it into the half lotus line, Ardha Padmasana, by floating your right leg up, tucking the right heel as close to the inside of the left hip as you can with the foot softly draped on your left thigh. You could even take a block and wedge it underneath your thigh on the right if you need a little bit of support for your frame. Take a big breath in, sit up nice and high, and then just give me a gentle forward fold, maybe using a block if you need to, or maybe you're able to make your way back onto the forearms. Just hang here for a bit, maybe allowing that heel to just gently massage the colon on the left. Make sure you're not holding on to any tension in the neck. You can gently float that chin side to side if you need to check your tension levels. Peel gently up along the center line. Take a big breath in, stacking your shoulders over your hips. We're going to twist to the right. Back of your left hand on the outside of the knee, or you can hold with your hands and pull, whichever feels most intuitive for your body today. And just come into the twist on an exhale, and then hold the twist for a few counts, keeping your breathing nice and long and even. Make sure that you're not leaning all of your weight aggressively into one bum bone. So once again, you want to look at trying to even out your body weight distribution on both sides of the spine. Start gently coming out of your twist. Keep the left leg bent and extend the right leg, maybe aiming for the corner of your mat as you come into a gate line, Paringasana. Let's keep the bind on the inside today. So you've got the sole of the left foot on the inseam of the right leg. Just place your fingertips gently on the mat in front of you and once again fold forward, maybe coming onto the palms or the forearms, or maybe using your block if you need to. Just hold your stretch here. Keep pulling the belly button softly into center. Check your neck tension levels. Hang here for a bit, and then we'll think of coming into a modified saw line from here. Gently creep your way back up. Think of once more twisting. So you're going to twist to the right, hook the back of your hand along the outside of the right knee, and maybe slide the hand forward, maybe aiming for your ankle or the outer quadrant of your foot, and just brace the right fingertips on the mat behind you, looking over that back shoulder as if you were looking for the back edge of your mat. Hold the stretch where you're comfortable. Then as you peel up to center, you're going to open up gently into a wide straddle, taking the legs as narrow or as wide as you're comfortable. Open up, make sure you're not hanging off your tailbone. If you find it really hard to tilt your pelvis to the 6 o'clock position, you could maybe take a block, just wedge it underneath your bum, and then sit on the block so that you're able to tilt your pelvis down to the 6 o'clock position. Give me a nice little forward fold again, taking it onto the forearms if you can. And if you're comfortable on the forearms today, you could even slide the hands forward, maybe draping your whole chest on the floor, maybe resting on the side of your head, or maybe you want to stack the forearms and just rest comfortably on the forearms. So just play where you're comfortable. Give me a soft brace into the feet to keep that stretch active. Hang here for a couple of breaths. And gently creep your way back to your start position. And take a gentle twist swivel to the right. So almost looking towards your right toes. And just gently fold forward, maybe creeping the hands forward to either rest on your forearms, or maybe you'd like to bind around the foot. You could wedge the block around the foot, or you could take a strap and hold that around the foot if you can't bind to the foot. And just think head to knee as you gently fold forward, keeping your belly button softly pulled in towards the center line. Peel back up and float into a butterfly line, bringing the soles of the feet together, knees are softly splayed out. Think of gently bump creeping closer towards your heels, placing the hands on the mat behind you, and then just finding a comfortable butterfly line with the soles sandwiched against each other, knees as wide as you can. Just make them nice and heavy. Don't force the stretch. And just hold your butterfly line, Baddha Konasana. Take a few comfortable breaths here, and then we'll ease our way back into easy sit. And this time, I'd like you to lead with the left leg in front of the right. Find your frame, sit up nice and tall. Think of that stack of your shoulders over your hips. When you're ready, begin to gently drape yourself forward. Using your block if you need to, finding your way onto the forearms if at all possible. Hold your forward fold. Check those tension levels in your neck, maybe gently thinking of nodding no. Find your way back into a high seat. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, twist to the left. Back of the hand hooking around the knee, or maybe gripping onto the knee and pulling it. Just think of trying to give me the longest line that you can through the spine, and make sure that you're not leaning aggressively into one of your bum cheeks. Keep that weight even. Take a couple of gentle breaths here. And then ease your way gently back to center. Stay in Sukhasana, or find your half lotus line, Ardha Padmasana, by tucking that left heel in as close to the inside of the right hip bone as you can. Sit up nice and tall. Check your hips, check your shoulders, nice and even. Awesome. Let's take it into a soft little forward fold. Use your block if you need to, or ease your way onto the palms or the forearms. Check the tension levels in your neck. Loosen up gently. Maybe feeling that little heel digging in to the right side of your colon this time. Gently peel up. Stack your shoulders and your hips. Take a big breath in. On an exhale, twist to the left. Back of the hand on the outside of the knee. Find that length through the spine. Almost pretend that you're a marionette and somebody's gently tugging your crown up to the ceiling on an imaginary piece of string. Look for length through the spine and the trunk. Hang here for a few breaths before you find your way into gate Paringasana. Start rotating through the trunk. Keep your right leg bent. Extend the left leg, maybe aiming for the front corner of your mat. Find your gate line. Sit up nice and tall. Place your fingertips on the mat in front of you and then walk your way onto the palms or the forearms, or use your block if you need to. Hold the stretch here. Check the tension levels in your neck. Make sure your belly button is softly pulled in to center. Walk your way back to your high seat and then think of coming into a modified saw line. Pivot so that you're facing your left foot. Tuck the right fingertips to the outside of the left knee. The left hand is just gently bracing on the mat behind you. Then slide your hand forward, maybe aiming for the ankle or the outer quadrant of the foot, and hold, making your chest as heavy as you can to the top of your thighs and just supporting your frame with the fingertips gently on the mat behind you. Look over that back shoulder towards the back edge of your mat. Hold here for a few breaths. And when you're ready, you can gently start peeling up and come into the wide straddle. Either narrow or nice and wide. Brace softly into your feet and find the forward fold drape that works for you today. Maybe staying on the forearms, maybe fully extending the arms out in front and trying to drop your chest all the way to the mat. Or maybe from your elbow position, just taking the elbows out to the side of the room, stacking the forearms and finding a comfortable drape that works for you. Remember, experiment a bit. Don't be afraid to experiment and just find what feels good for you, which is giving you a nice loosening release into the groin. Hang here for a couple of breaths. When you're ready, peel your way gently up. Think of pivoting to the left so that you're looking towards your left foot and just softly creep forward with both hands on either side of the leg. Maybe just gently dropping onto the forearms, or maybe you want to reach for the foot. Maybe you want to take a block and you want to bind it around the foot. Maybe you want to take the block on the inside and just lean in. Maybe you've got a strap or a hand towel that you could loop over the foot to help you make that connection. Fold wherever you're comfortable. Just making your whole torso nice and heavy towards that knee. Then ease your way gently back up along the center line. Bring the feet in. Maybe give them a little shake out as you come into a high seated staff pose. Find your high seat. Make sure that you're not hanging off your tailbone. So move the bum flesh out the way. Make sure you're sitting up nice and tall. Float the hands out in front of you, but bend at the elbows and stack one elbow on top of the other. We're going to bum creep towards the top of our mat, stopping when our feet are at the edge of the mat so that we can ease our way from here into Shavasana. We're going to use one full back and a hollow hold to find Shavasana. Think of unstacking your hands, hollowing out your belly, rounding out your spine, rolling back until your lower back hits the mat. Float the feet off the mat. Find that hollow frame. Lower back imprinted, weight off the shoulders. Legs are floating. And it's almost as if somebody has thrown a beach ball at your belly and you've gone oof around the ball. Hold that contraction in the core. And then softly melt your whole body into corpse pose, Shavasana. Arms at your side, palms looking up. Maybe starting to close the eyes and take your focus in. Inner thighs are looking or rotated out, toes looking to the corner of your mat. Maybe lift the shoulder blades off the mat, then tuck them like little wings underneath you. Close your eyes, take your focus inward. On an inhale, I want you to lengthen through both toes. Take a big stretch from your hip bones all the way to the toes, almost tensing through the limbs of the legs. Then on an exhale, soften from your toes all the way to your hip line and allow the legs to just softly drape and splay out. On your next inhale, think of fisting the hands and tensing all the way from your knuckles all the way to your shoulder line. Then on an exhale, soften from the shoulders, the collars, all the way down to the fingertips, allowing them to soften but stay gently curled in towards center. On your next inhale, I want you to round out through the spine, almost tucking your tailbone in, and try to make the back of your ribs heavy into the mat as you find a contraction through the core. On an exhale, think of softening the tailbone, lengthening through the spine, softening not only through the rib cage, but through the shoulders as well. Take a big breath in, and on an exhale, softly flop your head off center to the left. Pause here. Soften through the whole side of your face, the whole side of your jaw, and your neckline and your collar line on the right. Then inhale to gently come back to center, and exhale to drop your chin to the right. Soften through the side of your face, your jaw, your neckline, your collar line on the left. Come back to center and start to soften the skin over your scalp, your face, your neck, the collar line, the arms, the fingers, the skin over your chest, your belly, the tops of your thighs, the lower half of your thighs, your feet, your toes. Feel tingly and soft. Take a couple of gentle breath cycles here. And when you're ready, still keeping your eyes closed and your focus gently inward, you can bend the knees, connect the soles of your feet to the mat. Just take a moment to allow your lower back to just relax into the mat. And when you're ready, roll over onto the side of your body, preferably onto the right side of your body, into a gentle fetal pose. Maybe bracing your top hand gently into the mat, maybe tucking your bottom hand underneath your head like a little pillow of support. Just hang here for a few gentle breath cycles. And when you're ready, You can ease your way gently into a seated frame, maybe Sukhasana, or maybe you'd like to come into Siddhasana using a block today. So finding the stack of one leg in front of the other, and then taking your block and propping it underneath your bum so that you're sitting with your bum cheeks on the very edge of the mat. Tuck the two heels in as close to your body line as you can, either just stacking them in front of you, or maybe taking the front leg and tucking the foot in between the calf and the thigh. Sit up nice and tall. We're going to end off with a little bit of breath work. Let's play with Chandra Beda, moon piercing breath. You're going to take your middle and index finger, either placing them on the third eye, the spot between the two eyebrows, or you can tuck the two fingers in. For purposes of demo, I'm going to tuck them in today. You're going to close your right nostril with your right thumb. Take a deep inhale in through your left nostril. Then close the left nostril with your ring finger and retain your breath by nodding your chin to your chest. Release the chin lock and open and exhale through the right nostril. Close the right nostril. Inhale left. We're only inhaling left. Close it. Apply your chin lock, the Jalandhara Bandha, retaining your breath. When you're ready, release the chin lock, open and exhale right. Find a steady rhythm of your own, maybe playing with a 3:6:6 ratio, or maybe 4:8:8. You can take it to 5 or 6, play where you're comfortable. Inhaling only through the left nostril, then retaining the breath to exhale only through the right nostril. Find a steady inhalation to retention to exhalation ratio that works for you without straining. Make this your last cycle of Chandra Beda. Then release both hands to the top of your thighs and just take a couple of gentle recovery breaths, inhaling and exhaling through both nostrils simultaneously. When you're ready, bring your hands to prayer mudra in front of your heart, maybe keeping those elbows and the shoulders nice and soft, looking for that beautiful length through your spine as you thank yourself for making time to loosen up on the mat today. Namaste to you all. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me. Hope you enjoyed today's class. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Shoot me your comments and your feedback. And remember to always make sure that your notifications are turned on for this channel. I shall see you all for Pilates on the mat tomorrow. Till then, keep it light.